30 years of recruitment experience in administration and manufacturing roles makes Roz Grant one of the most experienced recruiters I've ever had the opportunity to work with. Thank you very much for joining me today, Roz. How are you?
Thanks, Claire. Yeah, we're very good down here in Christchurch, New Zealand.
Good. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. So, Roz, you have been in recruitment for a long time. You've very much made that your career, and it's obviously something you're very passionate about. Mm. For people who perhaps haven't dealt with a recruiter before, would you just explain for me what the role of a recruiter is so people can know what to sort of expect from what you do?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I guess as a recruiter, I see my role as twofold, really. I have a relationship with my clients who engage my services to recruit a specific role or a specific set of skills for them. And then I have my applicants or my candidates that are applying for jobs, and I'll have a relationship with them in terms of their job search and how they're going with their basically what they require from a job. So I'll meet with candidates on a general basis to see if I can help facilitate an introduction to a client. And then also I will be working on specific roles for specific clients.
Okay, that's awesome. So with the job market is as it is at the moment, you said there about working with candidates to look to introduce them to a particular client, but also then working on specific roles as well.
Sure.
So at this time, what are your thoughts on the job market in general?
Okay. Well, pre-COVID, of course, the marketplace in Christchurch was relatively buoyant, steady and buoyant, having just really kind of come out of an earthquake recovery situation. So Christchurch businesses were getting back up on their feet, and the COVID-19, of course, has hit us. But as a result of having gone through a lockdown or an emergency situation previously, businesses that I work with in Christchurch have fared relatively well. They've had emergency situations that they have prepared very well for. Of course, a lot of government organisations had a pandemic plan already in place. So a lot of those government organisations have shifted straight into automatic mode. They've had great facilities set up for their staff to be able to work from home. And a lot of those staff just shifted from Friday they were in the office, Monday they were working from home, and it was a business as normal for a lot of them. Albeit a few different things that they've had to contend with. New office colleagues being children, fur babies and pets, perhaps elderly parents or extended families that they're having to navigate. But in terms of their job security and I guess the roles that they play in those organisations, for a lot of them, they've just transitioned over and it's business as normal. For those organisations that have gone through, perhaps smaller organisations tend to be privately owned, they tend to feel, obviously, they felt the pinch of all of this. So, potentially there is going to be some organisations that will go through period of restructuring and a period of change, whatever that looks like for them. I know a lot of businesses are doing their best to hold on to staff as long as they can, and perhaps having to shake up and change up some of the duties and responsibilities. So for a lot of employees, it's about having that agility, really, just to perhaps not continue on their duties and responsibilities as they know it, but just to take on new things and be as helpful as they possibly can to the organisation through this time. It's really unprecedented for a lot of people, so everybody's doing what they can to pull together and move forward.
Yeah, I think you've made some really valuable points there in respect of for some organisations, dependent on your industry, people can lift their desk up and take it home. And whilst they may not have their colleagues around them on a physical basis, they can actually operate from home, and those businesses are able, although in slightly different circumstances that they adjust to, they're actually still able to operate and keep going. And then there will be some that there will be slight changes, but then they're looking at how they can adapt or change or redeploy their workforce to again keep their business strong for when we work through things and we come out of the other side. That's it's a really useful insight.
Absolutely. And you know, you just have to look at that, some of the organisations that are really gearing up. So whilst business as usual for them, you know, pre all of this happening, particularly essential services, manufacturing organisations, I mean, they're really gearing up because the requirement for them, the pressure on them is an awful lot more than it's ever been before, because all of a sudden there's a far more demand for product, particularly food manufacturing organisations, the agricultural sector where they're producing, you know, at the very sort of front line. You know, those organisations are busier than ever. So the staff numbers that they have working for them, they're really having to almost double the staff numbers to cope with the demand for their product.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's I think that's important to remember, that there are industries that are ramping up during this time. So in respect of what you've seen from your own desk, what industries have you been able to continue to recruit for?
Well, Claire, as you said at the very beginning, one of the areas that I do a lot of work in is the manufacturing sector. In fact, about 6 months ago, I started up a Women in Manufacturing networking group for Christchurch-based manufacturing companies, specifically to bring together women in that sector who needed some networking opportunities and an opportunity to really come together to share things that they were interested, other than the freight prices or those kinds of things, which generally tend to happen in those networking sectors where you have a lot of guys in the sector. So as a result of that, I think definitely, and talking to some of them recently, they are gearing up to really ramp up. And that manufacturing sector is probably going to be the first industry on an upward swing, because right now things may be treading water, but obviously when you know we are on the other side of this, whatever that may look like, that manufacturing sector will take off, because all of a sudden people are let loose from their homes, they're out there, they're buying again. You know, they want to go out and they need to buy a coffee, they need to reconnect with people. After all, we're social beings. So being cooped up in home is quite difficult for people. And so I foresee that once this is all over, sort of the manufacturing sector will have a huge upward swing. You know, providing their order book looks good, particularly in that sort of the IT and technical sector, but also in the food services, manufacturing, and spare parts, all those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's I think that's really a really good insight into what we can expect. And as you say, once people start to go out and do things again, we will start, product or food certainly is something that we're going to continue to need. And I know our New Zealand food industries have seen massive uptake in or need to have massive uptake in their productivity. That's some really great observations. That's awesome.
Interestingly enough, Claire, I was just thinking that a lot of organisations will look to start purchasing locally from one another. So what we may find is New Zealanders may start to put a little bit more energy into buying from New Zealand. Same as Australia. A lot of countries will look internally to try and support their local organisations and businesses for them to all get back on their feet, as opposed to, reaching overseas to buy product overseas. Obviously, there's a certain amount that we can't produce, so we're still going to need to keep those. But I think if there'll certainly be a bit of a trend to organisations looking to try and buy locally, just to put that money back into their local economies as well. So that in itself will create job opportunities for people that are not there maybe at the moment.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I've seen posts myself on LinkedIn that are actively encouraging people to remember to support local when we are able to return back out to wandering around a normal life, which will probably feel quite special for a while, which is actually a nice thing. So considering how things are at the moment, what do you think is really important for job seekers to be doing right now?
Well, first and foremost, I think if people have got a bit of downtime, the ideal opportunity really for them to invest in a bit of learning, a bit of education, a bit of personal development. I know that when I'm busy and I get information that comes through to my inbox, I just put it into my reading pile, and I think, I'll get to that later. So now's an opportunity to sort of pull all of that out and find out if you can pick out snippets of information that you feel could be helpful to your situation right now. There is a lot of doom and gloom, as there will always be in a situation like that. So I think you've got to choose wisely where you're going to spend your time, because if you start reading things, your brain can't tell the difference between what's really happening and how you want to feel. So, surround yourself with positivity, surround yourself with positive things and people, and draw from that, and start reading the good news stories as opposed to, the doom and gloom, because you start reading it, you become it. So put some energy into some education. I know that lots of organisations, because of the lockdown, are now starting to offer free webinars and free opportunities to connect with people, and also look at your local institutes, Polytechnic, those kinds of things. A lot of them are offering courses online, and that's a perfect opportunity to use this downtime to upskill any opportunity that you can. So if money is a problem, then there's definitely free courses and opportunities that you can find online. If money is no object, then it's a perfect opportunity to do some of those papers that you've always wanted to look at doing, and put your energies into that. Because if companies do look at restructuring down the line, if you can prove that you've been making use of your downtime, you will certainly be seen as a more employable personality to bring on board.
Yeah. I think that's incredibly valuable. I totally agree with you. I think it's so important to think about what we're doing with our time, and to make the most of it right now. So you've given us some really great insights into where the market's at, the job role that you do, and things that people can be doing right now to help themselves stay on the right track. So Roz Grant, thank you very much for your time. It's been great to see you. Thank you. All the best for the future, and of course, stay well and stay safe.
Absolutely, and we'll catch up for that coffee when we're able to catch up at some stage, when lockdown is lifted. Take care, stay well everybody.
Thank you. Thanks very much for your time, Roz.
Pleasure.